Good morning, you two. How are you doing?
We're great. Hi, Errol.
Hello.
You got to tell me how you went into this podcast. And the reason why is because I know in my heart you're spot on. There are two podcasts that I do that are all about being real. And that's why I'm so attracted to this. And I'm a guy, and I'm hoping other guys really get into this.
Us too.
Definitely. We really were hoping to make a show that is universally appealing. Joanna?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the focus of the show is basically just to take a look at the lives of quote unquote ordinary women. But what you come to discover is that an ordinary day for anyone on our show is just like so exceptional. We captured a woman at her first day back at college. We captured an 83-year-old woman who wants to increase confidence with older people. So she made a nude calendar. We have a cat wrangler, and actually there is we did a piece based out of Charlotte, and I was wondering, Jane, if you wanted to talk a little bit about Juicy Body Goddess.
Oh yes, Summer runs a prom dress store for plus size kids. It's so beautiful. And we spent the whole day with her, girls driving 10 hours to get to her shop to get a prom dress that actually fits and looks gorgeous. Juicy Body Goddess, everyone go. It's in Charlotte. But spending the day with her, there were tears. There were so many tears. It was lovely. Yeah.
You know, the one thing we take prom very seriously down here in the South. I mean, it's like the Super Bowl and Major League Baseball. It is the real deal, and everybody's involved when selecting that dress.
Yes. I mean, there were moms, grandmas. I mean, every person we followed had a crew with them. But it was just really lovely to see this kind of these moments excuse me, of family getting together and celebrating these young girls who for the most part wouldn't be able to get dresses elsewhere and look amazing at the end of the day.
So you're traveling with each and every one of these women then? I mean, you walked into a vibrator store with her?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Going to a vibrator store with an 83-year-old woman is a 10 out of 10 experience. I would recommend it to absolutely anyone. It was great. Smitten Kitten in Minneapolis. She wanted, one of the things that Jean, I mean, this is what I love, is you can say, oh, Jean, She made a nude calendar. She's trying to get women to embrace themselves. But her next mission, she's like, you know what? I'm 83. There's a lot of women who have not discovered pleasure with their partners. So we were on the hunt that day to help find the perfect model that she wants to use to help encourage people to enjoy themselves a little bit more. And I'm just like, more power to you, Jean. Wow. I love it. And she's breaking taboos, that a lot of women her age face around their enjoyment and sexuality and appearance. So, we've had the opportunity to spend time with so many women who are just so unafraid to challenge the things that we're told about ourselves. Which for me, even just to sit back and watch and share space and conversation with them, I feel like I had so many cool sort of like mentors just throughout the experience of recording these and hearing these amazing perspectives.
Speaking of taboo, look at what you guys are unveiling in New Mexico with the Satanic Temple. I mean, that I thought, oh my God, what am I going to be doing listening to this? I don't know. But it's educational. It's helping me understand all sides and decisions.
That reporting was so fascinating. The people, I mean, first of all, sitting down with Jamie, the abortion provider, she does telehealth, medical abortion. So she works from home and in Colorado, in the middle of this, in Steamboat Springs, in the middle of nowhere, in a house, a ranch, tiny little house, tiny little office, gets on Zoom. Women call her, and we get on, a Zoom call, and they say, "I need your help. can you prescribe me mifepristone, which is the drug that the Supreme Court is arguing about right now, whether women should be able to use that or not. And I would wish for everyone in the country to have the experience I had sitting down next to, a medical provider, talking to the actual client about what's going on, because I feel like we have collectively, there's this narrative about who gets abortions or who needs abortions, and it just doesn't match up with reality.
Yeah.
So listen to that episode. It really is so enlightening.
The whole entire podcast is enlightening. And the thing that I love about it, the length of each episode, 20 to 40 minutes. I mean, it fits right into your travel, or if you're doing something at work and you just need to take a break and learn something new about somebody else.
Yeah. And that's something, we had been talking about the show a little bit. If you look at podcasts, there is something for everyone. And when we were thinking about the mood and the energy of the show, I believe one of the things that I mentioned was we want it to feel like a nice peppermint, something that you can listen to, that you can enjoy, that you can kind of like savor while you listen to and move forward with your day. Just sort of thinking about.
But that isn't a lot of work for the listener.
Yes.
Because the ideas are really big, right? Yeah. So you don't want to present big ideas and then have it go on for hours. A lot of work for the listener.
Mm-hmm.
How much of these conversations end up on the editing floor?
Oh, man.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Sadly, a lot. No, each reporting experience is very fun and valuable, but it's radio. You work in radio.
Yeah. But at the same time, there's that side of me, that daredevil, I guess, that's going, what if listeners want reality? They want the screw ups. They want the stuttering and the flip flops. And it's like, just do it, dude. Grow a pair and just get on there and just let them have the real conversation.
We have that in our show.
Oh my God.
The things that we leave on the cutting room floor are stories that, didn't end up going somewhere like in a grander way. But yes, we have the messiness.
Yeah. I want to go back to Summer just for a moment, only because one of the things that really was planted in my heart while getting into this podcast was that we are now in this generation where TikTok is on the end. And it's like, right away, I just wanted to pray for Summer, because it's like her whole entire being is on this TikTok.
Mm-hmm. Yes. She's such a delightful human. I really want everyone to go listen to this episode or look at her TikTok, which is Juicy Body Goddess. She feels like she's on a crusade in a way for girls like her when she was growing up and didn't have options for a prom dress, didn't have options in a lot of ways. And she's providing that for so many kids.
I want to talk about Hillary. I mean, she's played what has always been the man's game, because that's the way television has done it with their reality TV. Hillary, she's in it to sling that fish.
You got to meet Hillary. Everyone has to go to the market and meet Hillary. She's so rad. Yeah, no, she is fearless. She walked up to the fish market and said, I will work for free for a day and you'll see how good I am at this. She just wanted to be in that environment. And they said, okay, give it a try. And she knocked it out of the park. And they were like, you're family now. You work here now. Screaming when they throw the fish. There also is they're dummy fish at the market that they toss back and forth just to show the tourists like what happens. But I only saw that a few times. Mostly it was actual purchases. So they're like, hey, yeah. And then the fish comes at you and then they throw it back and forth a couple of times and it's trout, and they have some coded language they scream out around like whether the trout needs to be deboned and whether it needs to be packed in ice or not. I got to take home 2 pounds of crab legs that I paid for because I'm an ethical journalist. But yes, it was so fun. And she is such a boss.
Wow.
I mean, Jane, speaking of being like the journalist and everything, though, it was also super physical, right? Like the work that they were doing was
my gosh.
so physical. She's like in basically like a freezer all the time.
Wow.
Right.
Yes.
Or having to stand outside and do like it.
She's wearing like those overalls that people on crab boats wear because it's ice everywhere. There's just ice everywhere. My hands were completely frozen at the end of the day. And then we went into the back office at the end of the day where she got dressed back into her day clothes. And I just felt like such relief for her. But then I looked at her fingers, and she's also a musician, a guitarist. And I looked at her fingers at the end of the day, and they were just like raw and red. And I don't know, women are so cool.
Yeah, yeah. Well, speaking of songwriting, Valerie, I mean, she's right here in the Appalachians as it is. I mean, just what she does with her music is see what I mean? This podcast is introducing me to real people. It's almost like, this is my new neighbor. This is my new friend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I just thought it was so amazing. Like you listen to different parts of the country, different professions, but everyone just kind of, there's this thread of expression and care that runs through every single episode. And an expression of care, like talking to Valerie June was so amazing because something she talked a lot about was how her Black ancestors in Appalachia inform her music. You know, she wonders where her songs come from. She says they just come into her head fully formed. Who is passing that music on to her? And hearing her creative process and her desire to really highlight the musical achievements of all of the people who came before her, who aren't always spotlighted. It was really, really inspiring to speak with her.
She is spot on. I mean, I live in a forest here in South Charlotte, and I've always told people that it's not me that's the writer. There's something out there in those trees that is speaking through me, and it just happens to come out. No, she's spot on.
Yes. In those trees, Joanna. Yes.
She literally talks to trees to help guide her and figure out what she's doing. Yes.
You know, Native Americans will tell you that the greatest storytellers are the trees and the rocks. Absolutely. I will go out there and hug that tree. I really do talk to them.
And she said that is like inherent to her process. And when I first heard it, I was like, whoa. But as you're saying this, and as we look at the other traditions of other people who kind of communicate with nature this way, it's just like, oh, this is an avenue that we could really think about living our lives. And it was just so interesting to I felt really inspired by Valerie and how she embraces the nature as her artistic process and her creative driver. And it's just like, that's just not the kind of conversation I've really heard with a musician before. So I feel so lucky that we get to highlight these more sort of unique spaces and conversations in the work that we're doing.
One of the things that really stands out, and it's one of those where it's like, wow, it took some courage to do this. It's not hosted. It's not narrated. You know, we podcasters, we've got huge egos. We want to be heard. How is it that you guys have stepped back?
Well, I think that we wanted to kind of go back to the old days of just audio documentary. Yeah. Just making a documentary and letting the people speak for themselves. So there's a tradition, you know, like in Errol Morris films where he's not, you know, telling you what to think about all the characters, just showing you who they are. And there's very few spaces where we feel very, very lucky that we were able to make this show. Like it feels like we're getting away with something. Like, you know, like we tricked somebody into letting us make this show.
Don't you think, though, that the magic of this show is the fact that as a listener, I can't see who's doing the talking. So therefore, I have to use my own personal imagination to draw that picture for me.
That's something that they say about audio is that you just cannot get away with an authenticity because that person's voice is right in your ear. And for everything that's missing from an image, there is a closeness that is conjured that I think you just don't get in a visual medium. So I love to hear you say that because you feel so connected to the person by the end and you don't even know what they look like. And all of the voices of everyone we have, they're just so generous. Every single person who's been a guest on our show has been so generous about their experiences and sharing with the audience. So I'm really, really glad that you enjoyed it.
The number of cries that we've gotten out of people, it's like so remarkable. Just the real moments because there isn't a camera in their face.
Yeah.
They feel more comfortable in this medium. Yeah.
The vibe that I really get is part of this mantra that I've recently adopted. And that is that I asked myself, are people glad to see you? And I said, no, they're glad that I see them. And I think that's what this podcast does. You are recognizing them.
I'm so touched because that is what we want to do. And as we were working on this, at first we were just really looking for interesting, compelling characters. And as the episodes unfolded, we realized that this show is really about care. Mm-hmm. Every single episode, care for a community, care for their craft, just echoes through so much. And then we realized, well, we're making a show about women and I don't want to paint with too broad a brush, but so much of our lives revolves around care in every area. And I really, really think that comes through when you look at the show as a whole, despite how different every single subject is.
Yeah. How about a crematorium? There's some care right there that nobody wants to talk about.
Yes.
Whew.
Yes. And speaking to those women and for as dark and difficult as those topics are, they also bring light and joy and comfort. And I really just, they're office workers. They consider themselves to be office workers, but what they really do is they really sort of tend to and act as sort of like spiritual support to all of these people struggling with probably the difficult moment of their life day in, day out. And the capacity to show up for people in that way 5 days a week. It's amazing. I was so impressed by them.
We have an episode coming up with a woman who runs a home in, who runs a home in Seattle for people who are at end of life. It's not necessarily a hospice situation. It's more really like the very, last few weeks. And she cares for these folks. They have therapy sessions together. She takes care of their funeral arrangements. She's in Seattle, so unfortunately she can't hook up with the people at Greenwood Cemetery that we also followed. But yeah.
I love what you guys are doing with Finally a Show. And I'm a broadcast instructor. And one of the things that I try to share with the students of the future is the fact that, and they'll look at me and say, yeah, I started a podcast. And I'll look at them and I'll go, it isn't a podcast until you've done 100 episodes and you have lived the life. When you look at something like Finally a Show, you're going 500 to 1,000 podcasts or even more episodes here because it can't end.
It can't. Yeah, that's the kind of really exciting part of this because there's a trend in podcasting toward always on shows that come out every single week. Yeah. And most of them that come out every single week are two guys sitting in a room who think each other's funny.
Yep. Yucking it up.
No offense.
Yep, no.
Yeah, yucking it up.
Yep. And then you've got the giggle chick in the side.
Yeah. And we wanted to make something that could live that way, but not in the same fashion.
God, I'm so proud of you. You've got to come back to this show anytime in the future. The door is always going to be open for you.
Thank you,
Arrow. Thank you.
Well, you be brilliant today, okay, you two?
Oh, you too. Thank you. I'm like, can you follow me around all day? I love
this. So encouraging.
Yeah.
Be good.
Thank you. You too.
Bye.